Political collects numbers from various sources like the Gallup polls and the American Research Group. But how do they get these numbers? ABC News says that polls represent a national mirror of the total population and creates a political influence. Most of these polls are done at random so that there are valid, sufficient sample of respondents. There are a number of polls that are taken just about every day. The most popular polls include the Rasmussen Report, the Gallup, as well as Political. Quite frankly, anyone can conduct their own poll. We did one for our BG24 News during our last politics show. The Political poll is just a method used to examine the mass population in thinking of terms of a candidate or any issue. The Rasmussen Report hosts polls, analyze them, and have commentary on any national issue. Politico is a newspaper that is based in Washington and follows Capitol Hill. This is a fully political publication that reports on any political issues that are going on. The Gallup is actually a consulting company. They host the Gallup poll that conducts public opinion polls in over 140 countries. This information means that polls are supposed to show the mainstream vote based on many different populations. The poll can be measured upon state, gender, age, or any other demographic category. ABC conducted their polls based upon phone surveys. Remember when you may have given your information to an Obama or Romney campaign office? Well, that is where they get the information to make these phone calls. Also, a lot of these surveys can be done online. Usually they host a tab or a place where you can cast your vote. For voters that are still undecided, the election polls can actually be useful, but with all the back and forth, the only poll you really need to worry about is the one open on election night. Thank you, Debbie. I'm Dominique Hicks.
Thanks, Dominique, and keep watching the polls to see how they change from day to day. It really is interesting. Now, BG24's Madeline Fenning is joining us to talk about the Electoral College. All right, Madeline, how does this Electoral College work?
Hey guys, with Election Day around the corner, I sought out to understand the voting process a little better, the Electoral College in particular. After talking to multiple students, political science, and American history professors, I realized that the Electoral College is a lot more difficult to understand than I thought. Experts in the field of political and historical education were at a loss of words or had a different view of the electoral process. Based on all of the different information and perspectives I've encountered on this pursuit for understanding, I will now explain what exactly the Electoral College is. Now, the Electoral College doesn't have a Greek life, parties, or campus squirrels. It's just 538 people from all of the different 50 states and Washington called electors. According to the Constitution, they are responsible for electing the president and the vice president. Now, in most states, when you are voting for your candidate, you aren't actually voting for your candidate, but a slate of electors who share your political preference. In most cases, electors are those who are very active in their party or connected to the political arena through activism. They might even have ties to the presidential candidates themselves. The number of electors per candidate in a state is reflected by the state's delegation in Congress, or the population of the state plus its 2 senators. Each state's electoral votes are awarded on a winner-takes-all basis, with the exception of Maine and Nebraska. Meaning, if one candidate receives the majority of the popular vote, they get all of the electoral votes for that state. For example, Ohio, based on its population, has 16 districts or 16 electors, plus 2 senators, adding up to 18 electoral votes. If candidate A receives 10 of these electoral votes, while candidate B receives the remaining 8, then candidate A is awarded all of the 18 electoral votes. Hence, winner takes all. All right, I hope this helps clear things up a little bit. I know I've definitely learned a lot. What do you think, Debbie?
I'm going to agree with that. That was a lot that was thrown at us, and you had to do the research for this. You didn't just, it wasn't common knowledge for you.
Oh, no, absolutely. I mean, with a little bit of a basic understanding of the voting process, I was able to approach something that was a lot more deep and complex than I ever really understood. And what was so interesting was talking to other either political experts or students. Everyone, based on, from varying degrees of knowledge and understanding, had a different understanding of what the Electoral College was. So it's kind of like a big mystery, and hopefully we're able to help solve it a little bit.
Exactly, exactly. And remember, if you aren't sure about some element of our political system, that's okay, because a lot of people don't know. We certainly didn't know. But there are so many opportunities to get involved. So take a few minutes each day and learn about how our country works. And great news, BG24 is continuing to help you get excited about politics. We have more coming up for you. It's a jam-packed show. BG24 Politics is going to be right back. Well, the third round of election debates happened last night, and not only do they seem to get more and more interesting, but they also seem to get more and more difficult to distinguish a winner. Now, Obama certainly redeemed himself with a more energetic performance than in the first round, and there definitely were some fireworks shooting from both sides as candidates battled to win the hearts of undecided voters in a town hall-style debate. Now, the emotionally heated topics included energy, natural resources, taxes, and the attack on the American consulate in Libya. Now, if you missed these previous debates, don't worry, because there's still one more round. And the final presidential debate is scheduled for Monday, October 22nd, 2012 at 9:00 p.m. And it's competing with our football game, competing for that attention. But make sure you tune in to see the presidential candidates going head-to-head with foreign policy. Now, reporters Megan Gallagher and Heather Pauloff spent some time with BGSU students to see how much they know about politics. Let's check it out. Sorry for that mix-up, folks. And now, as we go into this election, there are a few different myths and facts about voting, and I'm going to go ahead and share those with you. Now, the first myth is when you're going out to vote, your vote doesn't count. Well, that's actually a myth, because your vote is quite literally counted. And while one vote won't turn your state red or blue, the local elections are decided by just a couple of votes sometimes, so it really is very close. And in the last few elections, those were also really close, as in only a couple thousand votes. So make sure you get out and vote, because your vote really does matter. Now, the second question is, well, if you vote, won't you get on jury duty? I mean, that's a fact, sort of, because if you register to vote, your name goes into a pool for jury duty selection. But there are other ways to get on that list, including applying for a driver's license, buying a home, and paying taxes. And jury duty isn't a reason to fear voting. I mean, come on, it's your civic duty, and it's not that bad. Next, you can't campaign within 100 feet of a polling center. Now, that's a fact. And we know you love your candidate, but just don't talk about it when you go into the polls. You can wear your shirt and your buttons, and you can get excited about your candidate, and rock that stuff if you have it, but just make sure that you're not talking about it with other voters. And voting for a third-party candidate is wasted time. Now, that's definitely a myth. And let's face it, Gary Johnson probably won't win the presidential election this year, but these folks, like Gary Johnson, draw votes away from the major candidates, and this definitely makes a big impact on the election results. Besides, you have the right to vote for your preferred candidate, so exercise that vote, and don't feel bad about voting for a third-party candidate. Now, all right, enough with these fun facts for now. We're going to take a break, and when we come back, we're going to fire up our debate with two special guests. So stay tuned. About the national debate around us, it's easy to forget about our local elections. Information about who's running isn't as readily available as the presidential candidates, so the best way to learn is by actually talking to the men and women who are going to be representing Ohio. So I'm here with them right here, right now, in the flesh. We have candidates running for the Ohio House of Representatives, Tim Brown and Kelly Wicks. Now, we flipped a coin earlier, and it decided that Tim Brown will answer the first question, and Kelly Wicks will rebuke the first. Are you guys ready?
We're ready.
Are you excited? Okay. The first question is, in your own words, how do you perceive the role of state representative in the House of Representatives?
Sure. Well, first and foremost, Debbie, thank you for having us.
Thank
It's
you.
a pleasure to be here and talk to fellow students. I'm a graduate of Bowling Green State University, College of Business, and I know how it feels to be working very hard through the college career to hopefully get a job when you graduate. I see the role of a legislator as solving the needs of our citizens. In this particular economy, probably one of the most difficult challenges we have, Debbie, is the economy and jobs. And what we can do to further job growth, to create an environment where there is less government regulations, and to hopefully encourage our local businesses to expand and be able to hire students when they're graduating.
Wonderful, thank you. So we're looking at jobs, fewer regulations, and helping to encourage those small businesses. Thank you, Tim.
You're welcome.
And Kelly, in your own words, how would you perceive the role of state representative in the House of Representatives?
It's the role of the representative itself that makes me so excited about running for office. If you look, the mission statement of a state representative is to be a voice for the people in Columbus at the People's House. And so the real role is to spend a couple days in Columbus taking care of legislative matters that Tim discussed. And the rest of the time it's about being an active participant in your community, learning about what the people are really concerned about and addressing those issues in Columbus.
Wonderful. So we're looking at the voice of the people too, and that really is manifesting that role as the representative. Excellent. Now you get to answer this question first. What kind of experience makes you qualified to represent Wood County?
Well, I think for the last 23 years as the owner and operator of Grounds for Thought Coffee Shop, I've spent, like I said, over 2 decades meeting hundreds of people on a daily basis. I think owning a small business, being past president of Downtown Business Association, being active in a lot of civic organizations in the community, it's that vast, broad set of experiences that ultimately make me a good candidate for the State House.
Excellent, thank you. And Tim Brown, what kind of experience makes you qualified to represent Wood County?
Sure. Well, I'll start with my degree from Bowling Green State University. I'm a graduate of the College of Business, and I will say that that education that I achieved here at BGSU has served me well. One of the primary functions I've had as a commissioner for the past 14 years is working with the budget and setting that budget and dealing with the financial operations of our county. So I believe that the experience of 14 years working with local elected officials, working with our local business leaders to grow this economy, to add jobs, and to further our economy has been very helpful in preparing me for the role of state legislator. You spend a lot of time developing these relationships, finding ways to work together in a bipartisan way, and I'm very proud of the fact that in Wood County, probably one of the most frequently asked questions I get is, what party are you? Because I don't put that front and center first and foremost. It's about, at this level especially, what we can do to further our economy and work together as a team to change things for the better.
Wonderful, and it's so great that both of you have that connection to Wood County. That's something that I know a lot of people are looking for. Excellent. Tim, you're next.
Yes.
Why are you running, and what makes you want to run?
Well, my father was in the Air Force, and I was actually born on an Air Force base out west in Omaha, Nebraska. And he instilled in us that you should spend some portion of your life giving back. And that was the reason I went this route. I'm not a take orders kind of person. I would always have to ask the question, why do you want me to do that? And so I wouldn't be a good fit for the military, I don't believe. But in government, it was a way to serve and give back. When I was a student at BG, I dropped all of my classes in 1984 except for one, picked up 9 hours of independent study so I could work on the presidential campaign locally. And I got to know people locally as well. And it was a great experience for me. So I just think that that experience has been helpful and hopefully would help me in the role as a state legislator. So.
Wonderful, thank you. Kelly, why are you running? What makes you want to run?
You know, as the owner of Grounds for Thought for the past 23 years and a previous president of the Business Association, like I said, I've always tried to give back to my community in a positive way. And last year, when John Kasich introduced anti-worker legislation, SB 5, it took me to a point that made me want to take it to the next level and throw my hat into the ring to run for political office. I'm solidly in the middle class as a small business owner. I have a son and a daughter that are going to be attending college soon. I have friends who've been affected negatively by the cuts from the Kasich administration when it comes to higher education, when it comes to public education, when it comes to infrastructure. And so I see policies emanating from Columbus that affect us here at the local level being detrimental to the county.
Thank you, thank you. And your children are going to be attending BGSU, right?
My son has indeed been admitted to BGSU, and I'm optimistic that he will indeed
attend. Excellent, thank you. And I'm learning so much. I can't believe it. I'm very excited. Unfortunately, we have to take a really quick break, so we're going to be right back with Tim Brown and Kelly Wicks, our candidates for the House of Representatives for District 3. I'm Debbie Alderman, and BG24 Politics will be right back. Welcome back to BG24 Politics. I'm here right now with Tim Brown and Kelly Wicks. Both of these men are in the running for the House of Representatives for District 3. Now, I was telling these men over a break that we're going to get to some more difficult questions, so I hope I didn't scare them too much. But our first question goes to Kelly Wicks. Are you ready for this? All right. What are your plans to create jobs in Wood County? And how will you implement these plans?
That's a very good question. You know, I've been a job creator in my community for 23 years as a small business owner. I'd like to take a lot of that skill set that I've developed over the last 23 years to Columbus to work indeed together with people to create jobs. I think one of the things we can do most importantly here for college students to give them an opportunity to have a job when they graduate is to fully fund education. All right, it's good for business, it's good for our community, and those are the things that if we take care of college students at a state level like we should, we will give them the opportunity to graduate and be the job creators and the true engine of growth that this county deserves.
Thank you. And Tim, what are your plans to create jobs in Wood County, and how will you implement these plans?
Certainly. Well, for 14 years as a county commissioner, I've had the opportunity to work with local elected officials, local business leaders, to grow and expand our job base in Wood County. This has been one of the worst recessions in our country's history, and yet Wood County has added over $400 million in private sector jobs. It has resulted in jobs from one end of our county to the other, and it has been everything from manufacturing to retail to Wood County being the home of a Fortune 500 company. That gives a very diverse range of job opportunities for our citizens, and most importantly for college students is internship opportunities that help us and help students. So I think the most important thing that we can concentrate on is continuing to work with our local business leaders to grow these jobs and do what we've already done here in Wood County in spite of this very challenging recession.
Thank you both of you. Next question, we'll start with you, Tim. As a state representative, you would have the power to develop solutions to Wood County problems in the form of legislation. What is one law you would introduce?
Well, I say it's not so much about introducing laws perhaps as maybe reducing some of them and getting rid of some of them. Right now, one of the biggest complaints I get from local business people is the workers' compensation law in Ohio and what they're required to do in paperwork and requirements. We also, I think, by changing that law and reducing some of the paperwork burdens, would be to allow our businesses to have more time to produce a product. Shifting one person away from filling out paperwork for the state and actually producing a product, I think is more beneficial to the economy. So one of the first things I would want to do is work to reduce and change workers' compensation regulations. One of the important aspects about workers' compensation is in how it deals with an injured worker. And statistics show that even if the person can go back to work earlier doing desk job or desk duty, they recover faster. And that means a more viable, healthy employee sooner, and the company and the employee both benefit. So I think we can do better in working with Ohio's changes to workers' compensation law.
Thank you. Thank you. Kelly, I'm going to reread this question for
Sure,
you. It's a long
thank you.
one. As a state representative, you would have the power to develop solutions to Wood County problems in the form of legislation. What is one law you would introduce?
I think one of the problems that's arisen here specifically around the campaign season is the access to free and fair elections. One of the things that concerns me right now is John Husted and the Kasich administration trying their best efforts to suppress the vote. One of the things I'm interested in right now is we sent out absentee ballot requests to every member of the voting population in Ohio. We were able to pay for that. We were able to send them their ballots themselves, but somehow the state decided it was not in their best interest to actually pay for those ballots to come back. And so now we have an issue where people are running up against time, may not put sufficient postage, and a whole host of issues that could indeed believe they would disenfranchise those voters. And so one of the things I would like to see is to make the inclusion of postage-paid return envelopes for all voters.
Thank you. Next question. We're getting some really, really great answers here. Thank you so much, both of you. I'm going to start with you, Kelly. Why should a Wood County resident vote for you?
Because I will use my 2 decades of community leadership experience, my success as a proven small business leader to represent the citizens in Wood County and to work together to face the issues that we all find important: underemployment, rising energy costs, access to health care, the cost of higher education. Those are all things that we can work together and that I would do in Columbus to represent you.
Thank you. Now, Tim, why should a Wood County resident vote for you?
Thanks for the question. My hope would be that voters would look at my record as a county commissioner for 14 years. We've had challenges, but we have been successful in growing jobs. we have held the line on raising taxes that actually benefit students and our local businesses. The one tax fully under our jurisdiction is the sales tax, and in our county we haven't raised that tax in over 20 years. What that means is that anytime someone goes out and buys new shoes or a new TV, that item will cost less here than it will in most other counties in Ohio. That benefits our local businesses, and it benefits citizens really trying to make their budget go further in this tough recession. So I hope people will look at my record, what I've been able to do in a bipartisan way with local levels of government leaders and business leaders to put our economy first, put our citizens first. I think that's one of the hallmarks I'm most proud of, is that we're able to work as a team in this county, and I'm fortunate to have been part of a team that has been successful in spite of the challenges.
Thank you, thank you. Now, one final question for both of you very quickly. At BG24 Politics, we're really interested in getting students involved in making educated votes. So why should a BGSU student vote for you, Tim?
Well, I hope they'll understand that I shared the BGSU experience with them. I spent 4 years working hard for my degree, as every student out there is working hard for. And what I want, selfishly, is a lot of those students to graduate and find jobs right here in Wood County as I did. Growing up in a lot of different places as a younger person because of my father's military background, I found a home here. And I'm very proud of Wood County, and I'm hopeful that students will graduate and find a job here.
Excellent, thank you. And Kelly, very quickly, why would a BGSU student vote for you?
I think the single biggest reason a BGSU student should vote for me is that I will be a fighter for higher education. When I was a student here, a Falcon in the mid-'80s, the state supported higher education at a rate of 75%. And over predominantly Republican-controlled administrations for 2 straight decades, we now support students here at BGSU at a rate of the low 20% rates. Okay? We are not taking care of our students. We have the resources to invest more in higher education. It's about priorities. If you send me to the State House in Columbus, I will be a fighter to bring the cost of public education and higher education down for you.
Thank you, Kelly, and thank you also, Tim. It was
welcome.
a pleasure having both of you on here today. Well, that's it for BG24 Politics. Remember to mark your calendars for Tuesday, November 6th, when Jonathan Kaiholtz and I host our live 2-hour election special starting at 8 p.m. If you thought our 30-minute shows were exciting, you're really in for a treat. And make sure you like us on Facebook, follow us on Twitter, you know the drill. We'll see you tomorrow at 5:30 for BG24 News. Good night.